Hey, welcome to the show, everyone. I'm your host, the Unhinged Father. This is the Unhinged Father Podcast. Hope you're all having a fantastic week so far. Sorry I missed last week. It was a little bit of a crazy one. We were out for a little bit of vacation time. So, wanted to come back today. Again, apologize for missing last week, but let's go ahead and jump into the show for today. Now, I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there right now. Trigger warning. This episode has to do with being fat. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it because you might fucking eat it. But being fat is not a good thing. I'm just going to throw it out there right now. I know that there's a lot of different theories that are out there. You know, people are down at Krispy Kreme donuts right now doing research on what it's like to be fat. And as someone who's been fat and is still fat, let me just tell you, it's not the greatest thing. So that's a trigger warning. If you can't handle that little bit right there, then don't even listen to the rest of the fucking episode. All that being said, with the trigger warning, this episode is not intended to fat shame people. I hate that word, but it's a very complicated issue. Health, weight, all of these things that are kind of interconnected. I'm a person who really believes that there's a connection between the mind, body, emotions, all of those things. And I do think it's really important to take care of yourself. But at the same time, I understand that it's really difficult to take care of yourself, especially in the society that we live in right now. The abundance of food, especially high sugar food, high fat food, just all the shit that's out there, and just the amount that there is to eat. On top of that, you've got binge drinking, alcoholism. Everything's got calories in it. And it seems like we're getting further and further away from like physical health, working out, exercising, sports, all of those good things. So I'm not here to fat shame you. I'm not here to fat shame anyone else. I'm here to have an open and honest conversation regarding health, weight, getting older, trying to lose weight, diets, all of the things that kind of go into it. And I'm going to say stuff like fat ass or fat fuck. I'm pretty sure that I can say that stuff because I have been and am fat. So I think that's how it works. I can say things like that if I'm fat. Now let's kind of jump into why I wanted to talk about this today. So as I mentioned earlier, we were on a little bit of a vacation. We were up at a lake. I had my shirt off. There were pictures taken. And for those of you who don't know, who haven't seen me in a while, I've really been working hard at the gym, doing cardio, doing all of these things, trying to get back into a shape. And my weight history is I was a skinny kid with a big dome, grew into a fat little chunky adolescent, went to high school, was the slowest kid on the football team, but tried hard, worked my way up into being in relatively good shape at the end of high school. And then in college, I just went full gym mode, didn't eat anything but chicken breasts, rice and beans basically. And I was super jacked and tan. Towards the end of college, I drank a lot more. I was still in pretty good shape, ran a couple miles almost every day, went to the gym regularly, but I was definitely a little softer in certain areas. And then I eventually got married, got fat and happy, ballooned up to, oh man, this was before my first son. So maybe 7 years ago, ballooned up to like 315 pounds. And I'm 6 foot, 315, not like a jacked 315, like a you don't work out and you've eaten way too many Reese's Pieces this morning, 315. I had trouble tying my shoes. Sitting in my car was uncomfortable. There were just so many things that were just terrible. And I didn't feel good. I didn't look good. I wasn't confident. It was a pretty crappy time for me. And since then, I've fluctuated. Since we've had our kids, I've gotten on different diets, been working out consistently and then dropping off, really like yo-yoing between, I'd say like 250 and 285, somewhere in that range. Still pretty heavy, but yeah, that's kind of the journey that I've been on. I just wanted to like spell it out there for you. I've been in all of the different types of shapes that you could possibly imagine. So I have some experience here. Anyways, back to what brought this up. I saw a picture of myself from the trip, and I can see as I've been working out, as I've been trying to eat healthier, I can see through my belt that like the loop sizes are going down. I've lost a couple of belt loop sizes. And I can see more definition in my arms and my shoulders. And it still hurt to see the picture of myself because I'm still way bigger than I'd like to be, right? I could see there's always been muscle in the shoulders and the arms. I'm a wrestler, not WWE, but I was a wrestler and a football player. I've always had a pretty big upper body, and that kind of hides a lot of it. But I focus more so on my gut. I could just see that it was still hanging over, still way bigger than I wanted it to be, muffin top, love handles, all of that stuff. And it was kind of disheartening because I have been working super hard trying to eat better during the week. I still give myself some cheats on the weekend, but tracking calories, lifting, exercising, I average over 14,000 steps per day. I'm doing all of these things to try and get back to a place where I feel good about myself, feel good about my health. And it's not just an aesthetic thing. I'm talking a lot about the aesthetics here because that's what I see and that's what I'm going off of, but also just feeling better, not feeling fatigued, being able to carry my kids, throw them around, go running with them. All of these things are super important to me. And so I guess where I wanted to go with this episode was just talk about how hard it can be as you get older, as different things take priority in your life. Because it was way easier to be in shape when I was younger. I could eat a ton of shit. I could drink a bunch of beer. I used to eat pizzas by myself, drink a 30 pack all by myself. I was a degenerate little drinker and fast food guzzler. It was ridiculous, but I still always stayed in pretty good shape. I had good metabolism. I was exercising a lot. I was 22 years old. Now I'm 36 and I've got 2 kids. I don't have all that time. My job is to sit down all day and sit on a computer and talk to people, essentially. My lifestyle has changed, and that's one of the things that I've really noticed is that as I'm getting older, man, it's so true. It is so hard to lose it, especially in that midsection, man. That's just like the place. It's the first place you gain it, the last place you lose it. And yeah, being 36 years old and doing everything I'm doing, it can be a little disheartening not seeing the changes that I want to see. That doesn't mean that I'm going to give up, though. This is kind of the spot where a lot of times I've gotten in the past and I've went on a trip or something has happened and derailed me from continuing on with exercise or trying to eat healthy. I just kind of push stuff out. It's like, well, I'll eat healthy tomorrow or tomorrow. And it just keeps on getting pushed out until all of a sudden I've ballooned back up again. And you hear a lot today about not wanting to focus on the aesthetic aspect of how you look and to be happy with your own body. And I'm on board with that somewhat. But at the end of the day, for me, I saw this picture of myself and all I could think of is that I don't want to look back in 20 years with my kids at pictures of them when they were kids and see this fat fuck sitting next to them and being their dad, right? Like, I know that I'm going to be a good father and I'm going to take care of them, but every dad, or maybe not every dad, there are some shitty dads out there, but a lot of dads, they want to be their kids' superheroes and they are their kids' superheroes in their eyes. And I don't want to taint that when my kids are older and have them look back and see this person who didn't take care of them. And God forbid anything happens. I don't want them to look back and I'm not here anymore. And they're like, well, it's because dad didn't take care of himself. He wasn't healthy. He cared more about eating and drinking and doing all of these things and having an unhealthy lifestyle than he did about being here. And that just kills me inside. I do not want to be that person. And I also want to be the superhero. I want to look the part of the superhero that I think I am. Now, I'm strong as shit, not trying to do like humble brags here or anything like that. But if I was actually focusing on lifting and doing exercise or playing a sport, I probably would have been at a higher level. But I'm not. I'm here. I'm an office worker. I'm a dad. I'm busy. I can't spend that much time in the gym, exercising, playing sports. But that doesn't mean I have to stop and give it up completely. I need to make it a priority, and everyone needs to make it a priority. Exercising, lifting, running, whatever your form of physical activity is, it is a top tier, I don't want to say responsibility, but essentially a responsibility to yourself and a responsibility to other people. Because when you're healthier, you're a better person. If you're a dad, if you're a mom, if you're whatever, anyone to anyone, you are a better person if you are physically healthy. And I know that I'm a better person when I'm exercising, when I'm out there lifting, like that is my release. That's what I do. I go to the gym, I listen to music, whether it's Slipknot or Rage Against the Machine, maybe some T Swift, maybe a little ABBA, whatever I'm feeling. I go in there, I put my hat down, I put my earbuds in, I put on my fucking athletic shoes, no Crocs, no Vans, none of that horse shit here. Put on my athletic shoes and I get lost in that physical activity of lifting, let my thoughts flow with the music, with the physical motion, and just kind of get lost in it. And it's a huge release for me as someone who struggles with anger, depression, anxiety, the whole litany of things that every Gen Zer says that they've got and millennial says they've got. I struggle with those things, but I try and find ways to cope, and physical activity is that thing for me. If I worked out as hard as I did right now when I was 22, I'd be ripped, but I'm not. I'm still fat. I'm not going to give up though. I'm making a commitment to be the best person I can be for myself, for my kids, for my family. So I'm going to continue going to the gym. I'm going to continue working on myself and making this a top priority. The damage of the past has already been done. I've already taken pictures with my kids. I've already been out of shape with them at certain aspects of their life, but I can change the future. I can make progress moving forward, and I can make sure that when they're older or when they look at pictures from now on, that they're seeing that superhero that they deserve, and that they know that their dad made it a priority to try to be in their lives as long as possible, to be healthy, to be in their lives, to be active, to be able to do all of the things that they deserve me to be able to do. Now, exercise is not the only thing that I have. That's actually the easy part for me, right? Exercise is my outlet. That's what I do to release my emotions, to vent, whatever it is, like going to the gym, exercising, lifting, running to a certain extent, playing rugby, wrestling, all of those things. Those are a lot easier for me to do because I've always done them and I like being physically active. The hard part for me is the eating aspect, man. I just grew up eating fast food, eating whatever the hell I want, sugar, sodas, all of that stuff. And now that I've gotten older, I've tried to curb it, but it's really difficult because that stuff's the most easily accessible, super abundant. When I'm responsible for cooking for my entire family, it's a lot easier because I can sit down and cook a healthy meal for everyone. But it's those times when I'm by myself or I'm responsible only for my meal, it's really hard for me to like make a big, complex, healthy meal for myself. I'll just sit there and think like, well, I'll go and grab fast food or Chick-fil-A or Taco Bell or something like that. You know, I'll have this soda. It's not going to be the end of the world if I have one. When I'm left to my own devices, that's when I make the biggest mistakes when it comes to my diet. And also not thinking about the food that's going in as fuel for my body. I just kind of think of it as like, well, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. I'm a very in the moment person. Hungry, Robbie, eat food. But what I'm trying to change within my own mind and doing the calorie counting, some people like it, some people don't like it. For me, it's more so of just being mindful of what's actually going into my body and thinking about it as fuel as opposed to just mindlessly eating shit, whatever comes in. And this is something that I really need to focus on because it is a weak point for me, something that I struggle with. And I know that it's one of the most important things when it comes to living a healthy lifestyle. And I want my kids to have a healthy lifestyle. I don't want my kids to have the same issues I have with food. I have a very unhealthy relationship with food, and I can use it as a crutch. I could use it as like emotional support, and it's not healthy. It's not something that I want to do. It's not something that I want to pass along to my kids for sure. And as I had already said, I want to be here for a long time. I want to be here for my kids' kids. God willing, I'd love to be here for my kids' kids, right? I would love to be a great grandpa because I already make the joke now, and I would just love it one day if I was able to tell someone, I'm your great grandpa, and then, you know, their dad says, well, what makes you so great? It's a joke I use all the time for the times that we see great grandma and great grandma, great uncles, great aunts. I just want to be able to hear that dad joke used on me someday. And so what's the point of all of this, right? I have no clue what the point is. This is a somewhat vulnerable episode for me. I'm going to be putting up on the social media pages pictures that accompany this. And this is not for me to just show you guys how jacked, tan, super handsome I was back in the early 2000s when I was in college. Although you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, that guy's looking pretty good right there. I'm also not doing it to throw in my wife's face like, hey, you definitely got a catch there. Because back in the day, I was like a super good salmon, like a nice lean salmon. And now she's probably like, damn, I got myself this big old oarfish or sunfish. Anyways, besides all that stuff, I'm going to be putting up some pictures of the different weights that I've been at. Like I said, the biggest I've ever been was 315. I don't have any pictures of myself at 315 without my shirt on. Didn't really feel comfortable to do that when I was that size. But I'm going to show you where I was at when I was in college, towards the end of college where I was at, and then what I looked like at my biggest at 315, and then where I'm at right now, the picture that kind of prompted this whole episode. And it's not to, show you guys, I'm not some Instagram model here just shaking my ass in front of you guys for clicks. But it's me trying to be vulnerable and be real about the fact that, dude, this is hard, especially as you get older, especially when you have kids, especially when you're busy. Long gone are the days of when you can eat whatever the hell you want and be in good shape. But that doesn't mean that as we get older, as we have kids, as we get busier, that doesn't mean that we have to stop being healthy. It doesn't mean we have to stop liking the way that we look and not just accept the way that we look no matter what. I'm not even talking about that. I'm saying, hey, if you want to be this person who embodies health, who is a strong person for your family, we can still do that. It's going to be hard as shit. It's going to take looking in the mirror long and hard, acknowledging your faults, acknowledging what's going wrong right now, how you've gotten where you're at, making changes, and then pushing forward to be the best person that you can be. And the last thing I'm going to touch upon here is I already kind of touched upon society and how there's different societal things that are going on. I think that both sides of society suck. It's like most things that I talk about. You have one side, far right, far left, not politically here, just two sides of an argument or an ideology. And I fall somewhere in the middle, right? I'm not someone who's going to sit here and deny the fact that there are certain issues that make it harder to lose weight. It's not just like as easy as like, hey, don't eat as much fatty and you're going to lose weight. There are people who have genetic disorders that can make it more difficult to lose weight. As you get older, it's harder to lose weight. There are certain emotional and psychological issues that can make it harder for people to eat healthier. I'm also not on the end of the fat fluencers or fat people who just are sitting there talking about how their doctor is fat phobic. I hate the word fat phobic. Anything unless it's arachnophobic, I don't want to hear the phobia because I think a lot of that shit is made up. So like fat phobic, right there at the top of my list. No one is afraid of you because you're fat unless you try to eat them. But those people who go into the doctor and say that my doctor is giving me advice like I need to lose weight, and they're sitting there trying to explain to the doctor, well, that's just fat phobic. Like, that's all horse shit. You've got a side of society that's telling you to be the most in shape. It shows you these Gucci models, these Abercrombie models, all of these people that washboard abs, and it's pushing this ideology onto you of this is how you should look if you want to be attractive. But I also don't agree with those people who are like, I'm just going to let myself go, eat about 4,500 calories at McDonald's. And I'm right there in the middle. I also didn't know how to weave this in here, but I wanted to mention that one of my favorite movies growing up was Heavyweights. As a fat child, obviously that was one of them. The fat kids come in, they get shamed by your boy Ben Stiller, and then they take over the camp and they decide on their own after they have this huge, it's basically a food orgy where they eat Twinkies on pizzas. They're like, you know what? Maybe this isn't the right route either. Maybe we should look in the mirror and lose a little bit of weight. So in honor of that, I'm just going to say that lunch is canceled on account of lack of hustle. Deal with it. And that's it. I feel like this was an ADHD fat phobic episode where we just went up and down, like my weight, through all the diets, through the different thoughts that were pulsing through my heads. Ended with a good movie reference with heavyweights. And so that's where I'm just going to leave it off here. I think we're going to talk about this more in the future, but this was just a good introduction into how I feel about these things. Anyways, if you got any comments, questions, concerns, shoot me a message. Website is up and running. There's a contact me on that. If you haven't already done so, give me a follow on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasting needs met. And as always, if you feel that this content or this message or anything like that would be beneficial to a friend, a family member, I urge you to share this episode, share this show with them. Going to be trying to make sure that the content is coming out on a weekly pace again. But that's it. Other than that, I hope that everyone has a fantastic rest of the week, a great weekend. Happy Father's Day out there to all of you fathers. Go barbecue, eat whatever the fuck you want. Don't think about this message. Just try and become as fat as you possibly can. And then after Father's Day, maybe cut back a little bit. Anyways, as always, be good, try hard, do your best.